Well, certainly, yes. Harry and Meghan's detractors have been calling for them to be stripped of their HRH since they left the royal family over 5 years ago. But those calls seem to be growing louder and from a more widespread community. And I think that's partly because of this interview over the weekend, which has actually backfired spectacularly on Prince Harry. I think people are starting to lose patience and certainly lose interest in his many, many court battles. But also because last week it was revealed that Meghan has been using this HRH in a private capacity. There was a
Prince William, he's reportedly furious after it emerged that Meghan Markle is still using her HRH title despite agreeing to drop the title when the Sussexes left royal duties. How is Will planning to deal with this?
Yes, you're absolutely right. I think Meghan Markle has been very brazen recently with the use of the HRH. Now, royal fans will know in 2020, during the negotiations for Harry and Meghan to leave royal duties, it was agreed with Queen Elizabeth.
Breaking right now, an astonishing plot by Prince William to finally deal with Prince Harry.
Betrayal at the crown's edge. Prince Harry faces the ultimate royal reprimand, and this time, not even Meghan can cushion the blow. Has the Sussex dream finally reached its royal expiration date?
I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point. I would love reconciliation with my family. There's no point in continuing to fight anymore. As I said, life is precious. I don't know.
Once hailed as the charming redhead of the monarchy, Diana's adored son and the Queen's golden grandson, Prince Harry now finds himself dangling from what remains of his royal thread. The man who once embodied a fresh, relatable future for the crown is now facing the wrath of the very institution that shaped him. Parliament is sharpening its blades, and it's personal. There's a serious push to strip Harry of his Duke of Sussex title, and that His Royal Highness honorific is barely hanging on. This isn't just a quiet shuffle in rank. It's a public reckoning splashed across tabloids, whispered in government halls, and cheered by royal loyalists eager for comeuppance.
I actually feel, for the first time, a bit sorry for him. He's so lost.
He's deep down in that burrow, isn't he? It's sort of hard to retrieve yourself out of that.
Well, that interview sparked widespread backlash.
Forget polite protocol. This is turning ugly. The House of Lords has become ground zero for what insiders have dubbed the Sussex strike. A formal petition demanding Harry's dukedom be revoked is picking up serious speed. The charge? Turning the royal brand into a personal PR sideshow. Backed by influential conservatives and gaining widespread support from the British public, it's no longer a matter of if Harry will be stripped of his titles, it's when.
Poll revealing a majority of Brits want to see Harry stripped of his HRH title. For more, we're joined by royal expert Victoria Arbiter live from...
And while Harry may wear his West Coast calm like armor, sources close to him say this one cuts deep. Why? Because this isn't just political posturing, it's personal. The very monarchy he once loyally served is now labeling him a threat to the firm. The message is clear. He's not just out, he's outcast.
I don't remember exact quotes, but I certainly remember the flavour being, oh, we just want to leave all of that royal formality behind. We want to live these simple, authentic lives. So why is that HRH it being used in any capacity?
Well, because I don't think those statements before were all true or authentic,
right.
I have to say, because I think it does mean a lot to them.
Let's not sugarcoat it. Harry didn't just step back from royal life. He launched himself out of the palace gates with Meghan by his side and landed straight on Oprah's couch. Since then, it's been one explosive interview after another, a tell-all memoir brimming with family grievances and Netflix deals that turned royal privacy into primetime content.
Relevancy, and it's a selling point of their position, who they are, which is members of the royal family.
And I thought the royal family was this terrible thing that needed to be escaped. And
well, what's extraordinary is where are they? They're in America, the great egalitarian country that doesn't respect titles, doesn't use them. Everyone's equal. So to be handing out gifts, like yes, you might be doing it privately, but then addressed from HRH, the Duchess of Sussex.
And Britain? Britain is done playing along. What was once praised as bold honesty now feels, to many, like treason in designer shoes. Politicians call him unhinged. Palace staff say he's torched every bridge. Even once loyal fans have cooled. watching from afar as the California prince swaps duty for dollars.
Therein lies the million-dollar question, Sarah. It's a lovely idea. I think most reasonably minded people would like to see a family reconcile, particularly in the wake of King Charles's health struggles. But at this point, I just don't see how it could happen. Even in the interview, there was one point after Harry had made some really quite startling claims. He even suggested that there are dark forces at play that want him.
Take away the titles and what's left? A prince with no palace, no official role, and no welcome mat waiting in Windsor. The royal family rarely stages their downfalls in daylight, but in Harry's case, they're making a very public exception.
Formulating a plan to finally strip Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of their HRH.
And the worst part? He's on the verge of losing the one thing that kept him tethered to royal relevance, his title. No more Duke of Sussex, no more His Royal Highness. Just Harry. A man suspended between two worlds, fully accepted by neither.
Long-standing precedent, and there's good reason for it. Basically, the HRH is only given to working royals and senior members of the royal family.
Prince Harry didn't just step away from royal duty, he blew the whole thing to pieces. Once celebrated as the monarchy's lovable rebel, he's now its biggest PR catastrophe. Let's be honest. The world watched in disbelief as the Queen's grandson transformed from cherished insider to a headline-chasing hurricane.
Of I guess, respect in the public, and also it's not a financial thing. Working royals do not profit. They do not use their names to make money. It's an honour to have an HRH.
Absolutely.
So the fact that she's continued to use this HRH when they've been instructed not to, I think is absolutely infuriating.
It all ignited with Harry's never-ending campaign to torch the very institution that raised him. From unleashing bombshells on Oprah's couch to flinging open the doors of Windsor through Netflix's lens, then pouring it all into Spare, a memoir that read more like a family takedown than a life story. Harry didn't just air dirty laundry. He ironed it, folded it, and hung it on the global stage for maximum exposure.
Source inside, close to the Prince of Wales, who spoke to the Daily Beast, he said that William is furious, unsurprisingly, and he's also already formulating plans to deal with this when he becomes monarch.
In Britain, a land where keeping calm and staying quiet is practically sacred, Harry's actions weren't met with empathy, but outrage. The press branded it betrayal. Palace insiders whisper that even his most devoted supporters have quietly scratched his name off the royal guest list.
In poor health at the moment, has other priorities, and I think that Will feels that this has just gotten out of hand, and we need to take a tougher line basically in the family against Harry and Meghan.
This isn't about telling your truth. It's about tearing up the oldest royal rule in the book. Loyalty first always. Royals don't rant to the cameras. They don't trade secrets for streaming deals. And they certainly don't recast their own family as villains. But Harry? He didn't just break the code. He torched it with a smile, champagne in hand. Sure, the palace kept quiet, sticking to that frosty royal silence. But insiders say that chill quickly became an ice-cold freeze.
Charles probably doesn't want to go nuclear. He's always been a little bit too soft, in my humble opinion, when dealing with the fallout of Harry and Meghan's quite obvious breaches of the Sandringham Agreement.
According to sources, King Charles took it harder than anyone. To him, Harry didn't just attack the institution, he wounded the family itself. One aide put it bluntly. Charles sees it as a knife to the heart, delivered in broad daylight. No title required to feel that kind of betrayal.
The million-dollar question, Sarah. It's a lovely idea. I think most reasonably minded people would like to see a family reconcile, particularly in the wake of King Charles's health struggles. But at this point, I just don't see how it could happen. Even in the interview, there was one point after Harry had made some really quite startling claims. He even suggested that there are dark forces at play that want his...
And William? He's done pretending. The once inseparable brothers are now oceans and worlds apart. Behind palace doors, insiders say it's William who's quietly steering the effort to formalize Harry's exile. Titles, roles, reputation, the works. For him, this isn't a personal spat. It's damage control for the crown.
He was not prepared to share at this point. And that came across as something of a thinly veiled threat. And I think this is the issue that the royal family have. Anytime they have spoken to Harry, that conversation has ended up on a US news program with a friendly journalist. I just don't think they can trust him, and until they can trust him...
Every confessional documentary and every page of Spare sends the same message. Harry has no intention of returning to royal life. But here's the contradiction. He refuses to let go of the titles. And Britain's had enough. You can't burn down the ancestral home and still expect an invite to Christmas dinner.
I've been of the opinion, Dan, that it would probably be actually William who enacts any sort of change. I think Charles in this instance is acting more, you could say, as a father and less like a king. He really needs to actually take the threat of the Sussexes a bit more seriously, because what the Sussexes do...
Now he's the monarchy's rogue outlier, too famous to forget, too defiant to forgive. As Parliament draws its legal swords, the royal family has quietly resolved one thing. Harry will never again wield influence inside palace walls.
Royal title. One of the problems with the whole bullying allegations against Meghan Markle in the palace is that there was no recourse for a principal. They couldn't really discipline a principal like they could an employee. And so it's like, well, what do they do? And I think one of the things that should be an option is going, hey, if you're part of this family...
At the heart of this royal crisis lies a full-blown political blitz. An official petition brewing in the House of Lords aimed straight at revoking Prince Harry's cherished Duke of Sussex title. The spark? His recent BBC interview, which fanned the flames of controversy, paired with his failed plea for taxpayer-funded security. The result? A tidal wave of public and political backlash.
Probably just need to put yourself on the sidelines for a little bit, but he's also got Meghan, who's rallying the troops behind him on Instagram and showing that support. So that divide just keeps on getting wider.
It certainly does, and also until Harry and Meghan are prepared to take accountability for their own actions.
Once seen as the crown's golden boy, Harry now comes off less like a victim and more like a contradiction in motion. He turned his back on duty, yet clutches the benefits with both hands. To politicians and the public alike, that's not just tone deaf, it's shameless.